ICE immigration raids just keep rising here in the USA, guys, man. Donald Trump really wasn't joking when he talked about ICE immigration. Right now, what's going on in the US, guys, is serious stuff. The ICE immigration just keeps rising. And it's pretty serious stuff because the world right now, a lot of people are in panic mode. I don't feel like it's necessarily in panic mode for the Americans, people that were born in the United States, because, they're not immigrants, but other people who are probably here legally or are just here trying to survive on things, guys, I feel like they are the people that are probably most affected by all this. But the ICE immigration just keeps intensifying all over the U.S., guys. And according to the world and the media, I'm sure you guys are seeing this everywhere. The surges just keep increasing across the entire USA. So, the White House, for any of you guys that don't know, the White House, they mandated to, meet arrest quotas, which the President Donald Trump, he kind of wanted a minimum target of like 3,000 ICE arrests per day. 3,000 people per day, guys. That's pretty insane. That's a lot of people to arrest daily. Like, I just feel like these facilities and jails and prisons, they're going to get so over flooded from, people because, the president wants this. And that's what the president wanted, in the mandate, the White House mandate. And, the ICE is ramping up operations, with a lot of different strategies, such as arrests with courthouses, workplaces. They're locating people in sensitive areas like schools, hospitals. It's becoming a mess because right now the world is just saying like, people are afraid to go out, and I kind of feel it. I don't know if sometimes it's because it's the summertime, people are barely out, but sometimes I see in the streets, where I'm at, and I'm like, I don't see nobody around. It's just dead. Barely cars driving around. So that's what people are saying, that people are just afraid to leave their house and everything because, they're afraid the ICE is going to raid them. They can't even go to do their errands. They can't go to a grocery store. Like, you can't go to a hospital. It's just a little scary. Like, it's not a good way to live, and like in fear, of getting snatched and deported. But that's really what's going on right now in the USA, guys, and I'm sure you guys are aware about it. But there's a lot of talks right now that ICE is increasingly detaining individuals without criminal conviction. So even the president had informed that really what he was focusing on is people that have criminal records, but it looks like now ICE is actually not only targeting criminals, they're targeting people that are not even criminals or people who were convicted of being criminals or anything. And which, the president originally, he wanted to prioritize individuals with serious or violent crimes. But it looks like that's what's not happening right now. And nationwide right now, the share of non-criminal detainees, has risen, they're saying, like from like 21% to nearly 47% of daily arrests by June. And I mean, not by June, by August or something. So it's pretty crazy, guys. Like I just think what's going on is serious stuff, and it's crazy how back in the days you really didn't really fear from getting deported or things like that. Like a lot of people were just living in this like happy, roaming around the streets, enjoying life. But I feel like this year 2025, since the president Donald Trump came in, everything has changed. And the president has been serious about all these things, guys. So what they're also saying is that the ICE agents now, what they're doing is that they wait in immigration courts to arrest people, these individuals, who lose their protective status, which is TP, TPS, they call it, temporary protective status. So a lot of people are losing that, because the judges rule that, that's it, they're no longer protected here in the U.S. to be here. And the ICE just comes in, raids them, and takes them, handcuffs them, put them in vans, and takes them to these illegal immigration facilities. But so that's what they're saying, that they arrest them after their case gets dismissed, or their hearings with the judge, and then the deportation process, gets expedited, to try to remove them, you know, and that they try to bypass the full court proceedings and appealing rights. So it's a serious thing right now because a lot of people feel like, oh, they have rights, and they have a right to go through a court without just ICE snatching them and, sending them back automatically. Because once they lose their case or their case gets dismissed, at their hearings, they're allowed to, appeal the decision. It's like something that all people have in a court. When you're dealing with a case, you get to appeal something, guys. But, this is what's going on. And it's pretty crazy. So, and also they're saying Houston and other regions, previously dormant cases are being reopened or recalendared, and they're pressuring the immigration judges toward deportation orders. So, this is pretty intense stuff that's happening in the U.S., guys. So they're saying, you guys have seen the new bill that Donald Trump passed, and that's one of the most things he funded in that bill, which is ICE, immigration, border protection, all these things. And there's massive funding for that, staffing and detention expansion now for that. The Alligator Alcatraz, they're talking about that, which in Florida, the governor there in Florida, he expanded that. He created a facility, to house these people. And it's serious stuff. I just feel like people feel like that's it. They're afraid that nobody could go out, nobody could have fun anymore. So that's what happened with the big, beautiful bill, and there has been a lot of dramatic increases of ICE, and deportation, and it looks like Donald Trump, that's what he wanted to fund for this. He wanted to fund about like 10 of thousands of officers by 2029, so it's serious stuff, And, they're talking about how the newly reopened facilities are expanded detention capacity are intended to support the escalated arrest volume under Trump's enforcement plan. So they're pretty much saying, like, the amount of people that they're arresting and all this and detaining, that Trump has enough funding going on to create more facilities all over the nation, to be able to house these people temporarily until they leave, and I just feel pretty bad for those people, because they're born, I think a lot of, not all, I personally don't think that they're all criminals, and gang members and all this, like the media portrays them and like the president says, I think that there's a lot of them who have crossed the borders that probably came in illegally, but they all come here for a better opportunity. They try to look for work and all that, and I don't think they're all necessarily criminals, But yeah, that's what's going on right now with the ICE immigration, and the raids are going on all over the world, guys. And let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think the raids are going to keep increasing, or, it's pretty sad what's going on. And what do you think is going to be the future of this country, USA? And do you think by 2026, next year, it's just going to get worse? Let me know your thoughts and opinion. As always, guys, if you guys don't know me, my name's Jesus. I also go by the name of JB the Unknown Prophet, as you see in this channel, which that's my artist name that I've had for a while. I sometimes do music every now and then, I do Christian rap, and sometimes I express my mind through my music, But yeah, if you want to engage and show some support to the channel, then feel free to subscribe, And let me know what you guys think about this topic. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video like usual. Take care.